This conference will now be recorded.
I got 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. We'll start the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We need to amend that 8F.
Being I sent out an amendment to before the meeting, is that an amendment? No, it's not, right?
Okay. So I just need to approve the adoption of the agenda.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Let's review the minutes from our regular meeting on February 1st.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Review the minutes from the North Zumbro Sanitary District from January 10th.
Nothing to approve there, just review.
Okay, we don't need a motion on that. So accounts payable, Sarah.
Well, we can look at 79943 and 79977, and those are for water meters. Is that
That's our project.
all the water meters?
No,
Oh, no.
pretty much, getting close.
And there was some engineering, 79993 for 9th Street Jefferson for WH Gas. Other than that, it's pretty typical. Salt is expensive, but doesn't some of that get paid for, or is that our portion of the salt? The salt? That's our. Nobody has any other questions? I will make a motion to approve the accounts payable for the amount of $381,484.77.
Second.
Any questions or further discussions on accounts payable? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Sarah. We'll open the public comments portion of this meeting. Individuals may address the city council about any items of concerns. Speakers must state their name and limit their remarks to 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is John Olson. I am the administrative chief of the Zumbrota Volunteer Fire Department. I'm here tonight to ask for $55,152 of the 2023 public safety aid the city of Zumbrota received from the state of Minnesota. This request is 1/3 of the total aid received of $165,458. We have arrived at this requested amount based on the fire department being one of 3 emergency agencies serving the city of Zumbrota. These funds are Minnesota state aid and were a one-time appropriation of funds calculated based on the population of Minnesota counties, cities, and townships. Our ability to service the city depends greatly on the safety of our volunteers. The fire department would like to use these funds to purchase new turnout gear and a new tanker. Both of these intended purchases are listed as eligible uses of aid funds on the Minnesota Department of Revenue website. We believe the allocation of these funds to the fire department is an appropriate way for this state aid to provide benefits to the city of Zumbrota within the guideline provided by the state. Thank you for your time.
Any questions for John?
Figure, John, 55.
$55,152.
Just a third roughly, is that where you got?
A third of the,
Yeah, and I had talked to John, had stopped in to ask about those dollars, and I asked him to put together a request so that we could talk about it. I think it needs to be talked about within the Joint Powers Group as well. We're one member of the group. And there are percentages that each member funds for purchases like this. We do have these public safety dollars. However, we do have needs here at City Hall, as well as other public safety needs within our own city. Within the joint powers, and again, I'm not saying this shouldn't happen, but I think it bears a discussion with the Joint Powers Group. Townships did not receive any public safety money directly. Their public safety money went to the county. So there needs to be some discussion there as well, as far as how purchasing of equipment is broken out within the joint powers, how these monies figure into that. So it's a little more complicated than just a third of it to one of our emergency
Public
safety entities, which, yes, I mean, very valuable needs, absolutely. Some of these are budgeted needs. Some of these things were budgeted within the budget. There's going to be some shortfall, I think. Maybe this is making up the shortfall for those budgeted items that are already in the fire department budget, rather than being money above and beyond that. But again, it's not just as simple. We have a joint powers to talk about and that type of stuff. But yeah, the request absolutely is a great request. Something that we should consider, something we'll bring back, after we have a chance to have conversations with the Joint Powers Group about these things. That's my thoughts on it.
When was the timeline we have to spend on this? It's a couple of years, ain't it?
No.
There is no timeline?
No.
We already got the funds in the account?
The funds are in our fund number 104, which is our municipal reserve fund, and they will stay there until you direct them to be spent for whatever you decide.
And I think something as a council that maybe at a work session, and I know we'll be getting geared up here when it comes to budget for 2025, which is not that far, that we should maybe have some discussions on this topic, just to kind of get everybody's ideas of where we want this to go, because I assume there probably are going to be some other requests coming in, and maybe just have a little, what we kind of want to use that for, and see what the guidelines are of what we can use it for as City Hall, security, safety, which I think we need to think about more and more. So just kind of put that in the back of the head, and we'll probably discuss that again at a further notice. Any questions more for John? Perfect. Thanks, John. Yeah. Yeah.
I do understand what Brian's saying, that it is a joint powers agreement, and I agree with him. But this is also taxpayer money given back to the city from, everybody pays taxes. That was paid to the state and given back now. So, but I do agree, there's gray areas and whatnot that need to be discussed, but thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, John.
John, will you get me that in an email or a letter or something that I can include on an agenda for a work session for the council, so we can have more discussion at the council level on this? Because we'll have to have more discussion on all kinds of different things that we may want to use these dollars for, and that'll definitely be one that'll be in the discussion.
Perfect. Any more comments or questions for John? Any more public comments? I will close the public comment portion, and we'll open the public hearing for ordinance 2024-01, adopting annual fees for city license permit and services for 2024. Any public comments on the fee schedule? I will close the public hearing on the adopting annual fees, and we'll jump to 8A, new business, new pool. Brian.
You know what I forgot? I forgot to put the approval of,
Come on, just,
of the fee schedule on the agenda. Can we go back and amend the agenda at this point, Matt?
Yeah.
To add approval of the fee schedule? Do we want to do that last, or do we want to slip that in as,
Let's do that right now. Let's
A
just
minus
do-
one?
Yeah, we'll just do amendment for 8G, the approval of the ordinance 2024 adopting annual fees.
All right, and let me just run through. So this came up when we decided to switch building officials. And the new company asked if we had adopted the building code fees into ordinance. That's one of the things that they want to avoid any issues. And that got Matt and I talking about our fee schedule in general. Since I have been here, we have adopted the fee schedule by motion. And I think that was done under Neil as well, so I didn't change any of that. But as Matt and I discussed this, it was said that, you know what, we should probably adopt the fee schedule each year by ordinance. You know, we can always go back and amend it. That way the whole thing is published as well and just kind of takes away any gray area. Did I summarize that correctly, Matt?
Seems like, okay. It seems like when fee schedules first started becoming more common, there's a lot of gray area, and there still maybe is on whether it should be adopted by resolution or ordinance. And there was just a little bit more guidance that I stumbled into from the League of Minnesota Cities just last November or December on this movement towards publishing or adopting by ordinance and publishing just for more enforceability and makes it a little bit more tighter and less subject to challenge. So I think that's probably the direction we need to start going.
Yep, and then, so the fee schedule we adopted is in here. And then I added, I took some of the building, because there were some building code fees, some different building fees embedded in our fee schedule that are covered in the building code fee schedule now. So I took those out of our fee schedule, and they are contained in the last part of this, in the building code fee schedule. Otherwise, none of the other fees, of course, I didn't change anything that we had already adopted by a motion in a second. And again, this is the building code fee schedule. We're embarking on an incremental increase over a period of time, because as most small communities are, we're quite a ways behind on the fee schedules. So MinSpec is asking us to come up to the 1988 UBC fee schedule, which is quite old, but it affords not increasing a lot all at once, which I can appreciate. So that's what it is.
So we need to do a vote on the amendment of 8G, correct?
Oh, need to vote on the
No, we just
amendment of
do, yeah, we need to do a vote on the amendment of the agenda. Any further discussions, all in favor? Opposed, passes 5-0-0. So now we'll jump to 8A, the new pool.
what we want to, do we just approve the ordinance there? Is that what you did, or did you
No, we
approve the
just-
adopting of the?
Just
Oh, you're going to
adopted
G.
agenda.
You're going down to
8G,
G.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm caught up now. Thank you.
So now we're gonna do 8A, the new pool, Brian.
Oh, yes. So we, let me get to it here. The park board, of course, has been looking at our current pool for many years. We spent some money 3 years ago doing a little bit of refurbishing to keep ours going while we studied the prospect of a new pool. The refurbishing is going to last for 3 years. Well, I believe this will be the 4th year. So far, so good. Every time we turn the pool on, there's a little bit different issues, and eventually the pool just is not going to turn on or be too expensive to do enough rehab to keep it going. So the park board had a lot of discussion. I've got Josh Layer from Burbach with us as well up on the screen, and so he can help.
Hello, everyone.
But it's been a long discussion. We started out with a humongous pool when I came with big slides, lazy river, all that. very expensive, and through discussions, we've gotten down to a pool that's much more reasonable, about right around $4.3 million, zero depth entry. Maybe Josh can go through some of the amenities on that.
Yep, so it is a zero depth entry pool. Do you want me to share my screen, Brian, or?
I can make you presenter, and they've got it in their packets as well.
They didn't get the diagram though. They didn't get the diagram in here.
It's not?
Nope.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Well, good. You should be able to put that up there.
Yep. Can you guys see it now?
Yeah, I had it.
So it's located at the same location as the existing pool. We are proposing a new bathhouse and attached mechanical building to that. There will be zero depth entry with some features in the zero depth, a tot slide, geysers, and like an overhead spray feature there. There'll be a deck water slide and a 1 meter diving board. And then the total pool is about 3,021 square feet with 9,776 square feet of deck surface area with a pool patron capacity of 170 patrons. Like Brian said, has an opinion of probable construction cost of around $4.3 million.
What's our people capacity now, Mike, on our pool?
I think it's right around 250 or right over 200.
So it's a little bit smaller pool than the one we have now?
According to what the numbers are.
I was gonna say, I think it's a little bit smaller than what we have.
But it gives a place, we can
Yeah.
continue swimming lessons. We've got some amenities, zero depth entry, a place to get wet, and something that we can, in our capital
Affordable.
planning, we have built in $3 million of bonding, which we can handle if the voters decide that they want a new pool. It's adequate. It's nice. It'll be new. It'll have more amenities than we have now. The bathhouse will have working toilets. We're running out of toilets in the bathhouse right now because the plumbing is all going bad. It's still functioning, we can still do it, but this would be nice. And then, so the park board passed along these recommendations that you have. Hopefully you have those in your packets.
Yep.
Good. The site plan version 22 is the one that he's got on the screen. Recommending the establishment of a capital campaign cabinet that is looking to raise about $1.3 million. Also recommend that the park board schedule several open houses and informational meetings around town. That will come. This is directing staff and Josh from Burbach to go forward with it, and the park board to go forward with it. Also recommending to put the question on the ballot for August 13th, 2024 at the primary of issuing $3 million in municipal bonds. Of course, that question will be all laid out. It'll say exactly the impact voting to raise your taxes. There's very specific things there. Matt will get involved with this quite a bit, helping us develop the question and things like that. This also would authorize moving into phase 1, steps 5 and 6 with Burbach in the service agreement. Step 5 is fundraising, and step 6 is referendum support. Capital campaign and referendum support. And then, you see the dates on there. If this were approved, anticipate a tentative construction start of April 1st, 25, and then opening for public use during the summer of 26. So by motioning and seconding and voting on this, it's basically just directing us to move forward with this process of getting it on the ballot, and getting public meetings set up and starting the fundraising. The park board is aware that the steps 5 and 6 do carry a little bit of money with them. It's roughly about, about 2,500 for the referendum support and 5,500 for the fundraising. So that was discussed with the park board, and they chose to move forward with this and direct me to bring it to council.
So what happens if the fundraising goal does not get met? Let's just say they only raised 750,000 and they still need another $500,000. Does that halt that, or is that something the taxpayers kind of get the burden of, or are we?
No,
They got to get 1.3 million before we can proceed to.
Yeah, we were only authorized by the taxpayers to bond for $3 million. So it would be in a holding pattern with pledges until such time that goal is met. Is that how it usually works, Josh?
Yep, correct. And with Burbach Aquatics, we would not start designing the project, what is our phase 2, until you reach about 85% of the funding. So it looks like you're going to reach your goal.
In Burbach, you guys will help them guys with the fundraising, with the park board will help them fundraise for the 1.3 million?
Yes. Yep, that's what our step 5 is. That's our capital campaign support. So we provide you guidelines and work with a capital campaign committee to reach your goal.
Yeah, there's some meetings with us and meetings with the capital campaign cabinet for developing teams to go out to potential donors, helping to develop capital campaign literature. There's a whole laundry list of things under this particular part of the service agreement. And yeah, this has been talked about since well before I was here, and kind of thought for the park board was, hey, we've got a plan that we think is palatable. Let's bring it to the voters. They need to know that pool we have, we really don't want to sink a whole lot more money into it to keep it running. So there might not be a pool. There might not be a pool next year. We never know when we turn it on. If it's going to be $100,000 to get it going again, well, that doesn't seem prudent on a pool that age in that shape. Of course, small maintenance items to keep it going, yes. But it gets tough to schedule swimming lessons, because if you get everybody scheduled, because you got to start those early, and then we don't crank up the pool till a little later. If everybody's already scheduled and the pool doesn't run, then lessons are full elsewhere, and we've got a bunch of lessons we can't fulfill. So it's a complicated thing. But park board feels that it's time to bring it to the voters.
Mayor,
Matt?
could I talk? Unfortunately, I've become a pessimist over the last 30 years of practicing law. So what if it takes like 5 years to meet this fundraising goal? And let's say the referendum's approved, but the costs of completion are much greater than the estimated 4.3 million. Then what type of quandary are we in?
Josh, have you run into that?
Well, you wouldn't sell bonds until after this goes out to bid. So it would not increase your taxes until you would sell the bonds for the passing referendum. So it might be where you have to do an additional referendum, 5 years down the road, if that's what it takes to reach that funding gap.
Or increase the fundraising goal.
Correct.
Because we all know the construction prices today, it's at 4.3 million, but we wait 3 more years, it's going to be at 4.7 or million. So that would be my question or my concern. Just like Matt's, the voters prove on $3 million in August, but the fundraising is not there. And then we get out 3-4 years in the price. So that's an issue that could happen and that we would have to address at that time. But we wouldn't pull the bond out, correct, until we got to 1.3. So if it passes in August and they don't get the funding until, let's say, 2026, we wouldn't bond it until then, correct?
Correct.
Does the park board have an estimated time of when the fundraising goals would be?
We didn't really go into too much detail with that. We're kind of waiting to get the push to go ahead and start getting the groups together for the fundraising, and then we'll kind of gauge it out from there. But I plan on being on one of them because I think a pool is very important for our town. So I'm definitely, even in my free time doing the park board, I'm also going to be out there trying to help get the pool put in, so.
Kim, do you have an idea of what we currently spend on the pool versus?
Well, our
do we
lev-
have a projection of what this
Our
new
levy
increase would
currently
be?
for the pool, I'm sorry, I don't have the budget in front of me, but I want to say it's right around 90 to 100,000 that we levy. I do not know what the new cost would be. I'm sure there's some costs that will be less and some that will be more. The hope would be that we could generate more income with memberships, daily fees, and, just having a more aesthetically appealing modern pool could increase those numbers as well.
Mike, what's the year of that pool?
70.
72, I believe.
I guess my concern with the referendum is the date. It's August 13th. Wondering if the November election would give it a more broader view of representation of the city versus going to the August meeting or August election. That's my concern.
Josh had some thoughts on that. Can you, they run a lot of these and he's got some thoughts on the reasoning behind that. So Josh, can you talk about the timing of the vote?
Yeah, it's more, let me quit sharing my screen here. It's more about strategy, and with a general election, especially with November 24 being a presidential election, you're going to have, a lot higher turnout rate, and a lot of times with these special elections or questions on a ballot, it'll be more work for the referendum support committee to try to educate more people in the community about, whether they want a pool or not in Zumbrota, because that's what this ultimately comes down to. And part of our strategy is mobilizing the yes vote in your community. And that's why we recommend doing these on, your primary elections and, even a special election. We've had very good success of the last, I believe, 48 referendum votes that we've had. We've only lost one.
So that's where I would definitely actually want to see them in November, because I don't want to try and push for a yes. The idea should be to get the best consensus of what the community is. Not to just get.
More people out to go to the primary. I mean, we might get quite a few people that want to vote well for pool. Primary. Yes, sir. Very pessimistic. I'm more optimistic.
Either way, it puts a lot of pressure on the park board to, and to get the education out there, to the people to say, hey, this is what we've got, this is what we like. And if we don't, we don't have a pool, which it's a tough thing for you guys. Either way, it's a lot of work.
I mean, the question too is obviously the time is very sensitive here, so if we do it earlier, we have more time to fundraise and stuff like that by doing it in April or August versus November. So, I mean.
They couldn't be fundraising, I think, throughout the whole thing, either one. I think they could start that anytime, couldn't they?
But why would you start fundraising if you know it's not gonna pass? So I would assume they're not gonna start fundraising until they know they passed the bond. I mean, I hate to have them generate $1 million and then.
Is that the way it worked? Maybe I misunderstood the park board meeting, but that they could start sooner, but.
Josh, when does the fundraiser start?
I mean, there's going to be some organization leading up to that, but ultimately the goal would be to start the fundraising prior to, and actually, if you've got, what really helps is if you can pull into the referendum with, several lead gifts saying, well, we've already raised, 200,000, 300,000, or $1 million, whatever that figure is, leading up to that vote to help educate the public. And this is going to be kind of the last hurdle. Does Zumbrota want to pool or not? If you want to pool, vote yes on this question.
Will this be like, obviously some advertising saying that this is going to be on this
We'll have
in August?
informational meetings and
Phone boards and.
Yeah.
And,
paper, there'll be stuff out there, yeah.
oh, yeah.
This
It'd be
is
a
the time
lot.
to come forward. We talked to Miranda about that at our last meeting, that we're gonna put stuff out there so that everyone's aware that this is what's happening in August. Yep.
Page on their website and push communication, yes. it'll
And
be-
they'll have numbers too, that it'll cost you $5 a month on a $200,000 house on a $3 million bond per month.
Be more than that, but yeah.
$6 a month? I thought that's what we talked about.
Roughly on our quick calculations, about $6 a month on a $100,000 house.
Oh, 100, okay.
Yeah, about $200 about $17 a month on a $300,000 house. And again, that's really preliminary. There's a whole lot of factors that need to be taken into account before we can say that's what it's going to be. And our financial advisor, Ellers, will do that, or Burbach does that, I think, to assist with that, so.
We help with, we want those numbers to come from your financial advisor though.
This is basically direction to get moving. And yeah, whatever date you guys decide, we want to run it no matter what date you can decide on, so. Is that right? Is that
Yes,
fair?
yes. I think we're very well aware that the pool is crumbling, so we need to do something now or it's not gonna get done. So.
Do we have enough time? Brian, question. If we did it in August and it didn't pass, do we have enough time to redo it, restructure it to get it to the November election?
I haven't looked into it yet.
Okay, I didn't know if there was-
74 days out.
How much?
74 days?
It has to do with the voting machines and how they have to put the things within that.
So it's 74 days that we, okay. And that would be my question, is that if it didn't pass in April and the park board wanted to push more, that we tried to maybe get it on the primary versus the general.
You'd have to, for early balloting, you'd have to have it incredibly
It
early.
won't fit in there.
Yeah, you would be pushed into 25 then.
Did this pass the park board unanimously?
To push for the August election, I believe, yes, I believe all of us were on the same page with that, yeah.
But there was discussion about the November.
Okay, there was.
A
That's
bunch
like
of
saying,
discussion,
we're rewriting the wheel if this is what they have recommended and they've done all the research.
Yeah, it comes down to education, and you're going to get more voters who took the time to educate themselves in the primary than in the general. In the general, everybody comes out for that, whether they've educated themselves or not. They're going to cast a vote on whatever they're going to cast a vote on.
Well, that's not, my thinking is that if we put it in the primary, people are going to come to vote yes or no for the pool. And
Increase the turnout?
I think it will increase the turnout for the primary, which I think is a good thing, but that's just me.
I would have to agree with what Sarah says, or that the park board has done all the homework and all the research, and it has passed. I guess there was some discussion. I understand Bob's discussion or opinion or question on changing it from the primary to the general, but I mean, I guess the way the park board has written it, I would be okay with going forward with that.
When I was on the liaison for the park board, there was a discussion where you guys were gonna fundraise half of it, but now it's only a quarter of it or a little over a quarter?
I think we didn't have as much information, or like, we didn't have a pool picked from, because they gave us a few options of what to do as far as how we wanted to proceed with having a new pool. They didn't really have the numbers down because we didn't have anything set in stone. So now we've decided like this is the pool we're gonna go with. And then when we further looked into it, I think Josh looked into it and said, okay, well, this is actually what you need to do, what you need to raise is the 1.3 compared to with the total or whatever it is, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so the question to me, when I came in was, what can the city do? What can the city bond for? Well, I didn't have that answer. And so we went through our capital process and, with the guidelines of having a 6.5% levy, pretty consistent, with the exception of a pool year, and how much bonding capacity do we have, or borrowing capacity do we have? And we settled on $3 million is what we could. And then, so then the park board went back to work, knowing that the city said, yes, if the voters say yes, we can bond for $3 million and not completely blow everything up. I think it would make our levy go to like 18% that year, when we would start paying, but, or go up 18%. But yeah, that's what they were waiting for. They were waiting for us, the city, to give them a number to work from. And then they worked on paring the pool back a little more. Well, what do we need? We need swimming lessons. We need a place to get wet. We need zero depth entry. We need some amenities for little kids. We also need something for the bigger kids, some sort of a slide, maybe diving board, maybe, well, the climbing wall, hopefully will be incorporated somewhere there. And that's kind of how this plan came together.
What's our bonding increase for the sanitary district, and when does that come in? Does that hit the same time frame, or?
Well, that's a whole different ball of wax there.
Yeah.
No, we're still working on that, and that's a different type of funding than this.
It'll still impact the wall, so.
Nope.
Through the water and sewer
The
bill,
fees.
correct?
Just
Not
the
on
bills.
taxes.
There won't be a tax, okay.
Yep, that's an enterprise fund that is paid for with fees.
And I think, didn't we adjust some of our fees this year to start building that account or that?
To soften that,
To
yep.
soften
the
that
blow,
blow, so
yep.
it does, so.
Yep.
I know when we did our water and sewer fees, we built, I think by the recommendation of Ellers, to where we need to go, that we've already increased our fees a little bit to help soften that blow once we get there. And that won't affect taxes. It'll affect the residents but it won't affect the tax
Yeah.
portion.
Yep, so we either
Do you
need
want me to make a motion? Because I will. Unless you have more questions.
Or discussion. I mean, it's a big decision, and it's a decision I would rather have the taxpayers make than us as council. I mean, and I think this is the way we need to go, just because it's not a decision that I want to make for our residents that's going to affect their pocketbook that big, that significant. So I think we do need to do a referendum and let them speak. And also know the options. Your taxes are going to go up for a new pool, or we have no pool, because I think that is coming sooner than later.
Well, I think it's like, don't have one coffee 1 month, and that will pay your portion of the tax, or, you know what I mean? Don't go to the Dairy Queen one day.
Don't say that. Yeah, you do. No.
Or the goose.
No, did they still have a tree?
No pool or not getting to have a coffee 1 week of the month. You know, I think people can look at it that way and go, oh, well, that's doable.
And I like it that the park board has to fundraise for a quarter of it versus the city or asking in a referendum for all of it. And I think Josh might be able to answer. Most communities, do they do a fundraiser or does the community pay for, do a bond for the whole thing? How is it kind of normally done?
Well, the one referendum that failed, they were asking for the entirety of the funding through a referendum. And that was against Burbach's recommendation. But yeah, typically it's a combination of funds. It shows that everyone's got a skin in the game and they're all working for a common goal. So that's typically how we, fund these projects through a multiple avenues of funding. So.
And I would hope the community would be, okay, I'm okay paying 75% because we fundraised the other 25%. So I mean, let's let the community decide and go from there.
My question is this, what if somebody comes and we raise $2 million?
It'll lower the referendum.
It'll lower than the.
Right? I mean, that's how it
Yeah.
works, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Or if somebody says, let's say Mayo Clinic wants to do the naming rights and we'll pay for half of it. It's less that they would have to bond. And hopefully the community or the bonding, or they will try to still keep on generating other funds to lower the bond. So I mean.
Right, so that's cool. I'm gonna make a motion then to approve the park board recommendations for the municipal pool.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 3-0. It was good discussion. Thanks, Josh, for the information. Let's let the public decide. Let's get the fundraising going and then let the referendum make the decision on what. But I think we need to lay it out. Your taxes are gonna go up or we're gonna have no pool, because I think Mike would be a big believer that the life of that is a couple more years.
Yeah, weird. Well, yeah, that's ambitious.
Yeah,
That is.
perfect. Thanks for the good discussion, and Josh, thanks for your time.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Look forward to seeing you guys in the near future. So take care.
Let's jump to 8B, stalker purchase. Chief.
It'll actually be radar purchase. With our new vehicle, we actually ordered a radar unit for the vehicle that we were supposed to get, and we had it in stock. And then the radar we transferred over from the 2016 that was totaled into the new black and white car that we're using, the new used. That radar failed, and I talked to our radar techs that do our stuff, and they asked me for some data on it, and turned out the thing was like 12 or 13 years old. Parts aren't readily available. They can fix it, but it's not really feasible to continue to use it. And so we took the radar that was supposed to go in the car we didn't get. And so we're gonna need one for the Durango. So this is the quote that's in front of you for a new radar. It's pretty much the same thing that we're using right now, same system. And I don't really want to stray away from the brand because this is what everyone's used to, and this is what we've been buying.
I guess my only question, because I'm gonna be Tina, when it comes to budget, where are we at with the budget on the price of the whole vehicle being outfitted to where we budgeted to where we're actually gonna be? I mean,
Well, that's a great question.
I mean, I guess that would be my question is, I know we've had a lot of different things as council that I can't keep everything straight in vehicles and prices and adding this and this doesn't work. So, and I think so my question is, okay, if we budgeted 70,000 to outfit our vehicle, lettering, everything, where are we at and on that?
And I don't know 100% for sure, because when we approved the last purchase of the vehicle that we didn't get, we also, had approved who was going to do the outfitting and purchasing equipment. Well, that equipment had to be pre-purchased, and now some of it's useless.
So I mean, I guess
there's kind of a loss even on some of the stuff that we're not going to be able to use, and certainly EATI will try to sell it, but they also have their own overstock of stuff that they're not able to use because Ford dropped the ball, and there was too many cancellations, and people had, and other agencies also are kind of left holding the bag on some of the components. Now, some of them are going to be able to be used because it's a matter of, you just need Dodge brackets, Ford brackets for that thing part. So I'm still waiting on a list from EATI as to what we're taking a hit on. So I don't even know.
I mean, I obviously think the radar is important for a squad car, but I would also like to know budget-wise, number-wise, if we can get where we're at, what we got saved, what we can use, what we're gonna still expect to buy. Because I hate to get to a point where you've spent 900,000 and we're still missing a key component of.
Yeah, and I think we're still in the ballpark of what we initially approved because the Durango was a little cheaper than the Explorer to begin with. So there is that. And once we do this, I think our next purchase, which will be ordering again this fall, if we're gonna stay on target as far as replacement. We should be able to move, a number of these big ticket expenses to the next car and not have to buy them.
What's the ETA on the Durango, do we know roughly?
They said 3 to 8 months.
They said what?
3 to 8 months.
So 12 months, we're still talking about it? I mean,
We'll see what Christmas brings.
Lead time on the radar units.
I know when I ordered the last one, I still didn't get it for about 2 months. It's the same thing with like the radio, which you guys approved me to purchase another radio. I think that was a couple of meetings ago. That was about 7, 8 months. So, and I have one in a box for the car that we ordered, but I needed to get another one because the county is going fully encrypted and they want to get that done this year. Well, that means one of our squads wouldn't be able to hear dispatch, and that's the oldest unit. So I'm not going to mess with this until it has to be done if we don't have it in time. Because then that way I know that if this Durango comes, I'm going to put that one that we ordered last year into that. We'll still hold off on the one that's in the black and white until that new one comes. So, but.
And I assume this radar we can put in any vehicle, it's not.
Correct, and we're just beyond its life cycle, its recommended life cycle.
So we gotta get a new one, because my question is, I hate to buy this radar, we sit it in a box because the Durango's 14 months out, now that don't work for that vehicle.
Right now, I don't have one sitting in a box, and my hope is by the time we get this radar, we might be actually seeing information from Dodge on the Durango. Because I know the county ordered Durangos, and they already started seeing them within 3 months. But that doesn't mean we will. So.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase $3,450 for the quoted amount.
Radio. Sorry about that.
Radar. Yeah. Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Chief. Let's go to 8C, Tough Book purchase. Chief?
So similarly, but not typically in our squad car bids, is we have computers. And we're looking to replace our oldest computer unit. It's at its end of life. The county had contacted me. They were making a large purchase. They were transitioning from the 31 series completely to the FZ55 series. We started doing that a few years ago as we were replacing, because we don't buy them like they do. They buy them all, they ship them out, 4 years later, they buy them all, ship them out. We try to, stagger them in there. So they're doing an order, and so they said, hey, if you want to get it on this, they're getting a better rate. It's state bid pricing, but they're also getting a better rate on it because we're ordering basically along with them. And this includes not just the computer, but it includes the docking plate. So and the docking plate's like $700 for that, just alone, which we will need regardless, because that's what's in the car to lock it in and power it and everything, so. So we're not increasing how many computers, we're replacing.
These things are all equipment schedule that we work on.
And we do have some wiggle room. The police have traditionally had a section of our general fund that's called restricted for police equipment. So it's money that they have maybe taken in fingerprinting and some other activities that they do that generate some income. So we put the balance of their cost versus what they bring in there. So they have a fairly nice balance in there for some of the purchases of small equipment. Or for example, with the automobile, if we run into a deficit situation, we can bring out of the balance in the general fund. So there are some funds available for those things.
Helps with the shortfalls.
It does. It does help with the shortfall.
That's hard to say.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 500. Thanks, Chief. 8D, impound lock camera proposal.
Yes.
Right.
About, 2.5 years ago or so, we had the technology committee, maybe it was 3 years ago. We had the technology committee, we're looking at cameras, to provide some security cameras around the building here, covered bridge, the brush site. The impound lot was talked about then. We bought the Vericata system because it's expandable, it's got a lot of capabilities. It's not cheap, not the cheapest system, but we can put all these camera views side by side up in the police department, and they can monitor all these areas. We have an existing out-of-the-box residential camera system at the impound lot that has worked and not worked, and there's something shorting out. But long story short is there might be a market for that. I hear there's a couple of them in boxes still out there, maybe some cameras and recording equipment. So we would propose to maybe liquidate that. We'll see if that's possible. But we'd like to expand our Vericata system to include a camera at the impound lot, which I feel is very important. That we monitor that area. This would be not a fisheye, but it would have 4 cameras in one housing that can be directed in different directions. So we can direct one right down the driveway between the public works buildings. To catch all of that, we can direct one right at the gate to catch any vehicles coming in there. Possibly, it's not a license plate reader, but it's very good quality. It's pretty good lighting there. And we can direct one over at the cold storage, in which case we will have a indoor police impound lot in there, so we can see who's accessing that building, and then one on the impound lot itself. So very flexible. And you can see on my memo there what the costs are for the camera. So the camera itself, and you've got the quote here too. Basically, what boosts the price up so much is a 10-year service. The 10-year service agreement on it is $4,200 just about. So that makes it look very expensive, but it's over 10 years. And we've already used that on these cameras out here. They replaced a couple of them because there was a water leak, I think 2 of them. Tyler helped us with one of those. And they replaced those cameras, no questions. And they helped troubleshoot, and that's all part of that 10-year agreement. So really it's $400 and some a year. So we're looking at about, $5,200 for the camera completely installed, plus the 10-year, we're at $9,354.41 for this camera.
Where does this money come from?
Well, speaking of the needs from the public safety dollars for that we have in the city, that was one of those things that, Pat and I discussed that. He gets some guidance from the Chiefs Association and places like that, that security, building security, controlled access, things like this are funds that are being used. They're using public safety funds for that. There's a lot of different agencies, a lot of different cities. We may have some ARPA dollars as well, we could direct it there instead of the public safety dollars if you would want, if you choose to go forward with this camera.
I don't think we should spend that security money until we have a plan.
Until we have a full
I
plan.
would agree with that one.
Okay. Yep, fair enough.
We discussed what we're gonna do with the sum.
Sure. Yep, yeah, so, yeah, as a staff, we'll come up with a bunch of the things, and then we'll discuss with you guys on that security money. Kim, do you think we've got this in the ARPA dollars that we could do if the council so chooses to move forward with this?
Yes, I believe we do. And I think, we have a deadline with that ARPA money to use it. We have to have it committed by I believe, August of this year, I
So,
want to
yeah,
say.
So that's a.
So we have to get that committed and used. So in a future work session, we will come with a full list of what has been spent and what is available.
Yep, and because we've got some left in there. We just did those numbers, and so, yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. I think you're right in that, we should hold off on expending any of the public safety dollars.
Those other dollars that we need to spend.
Yep, agreed.
I think this is a good thing to have, so it's not that I don't disagree, it's just.
And I know my conversation with Sergeant Pasquale and probably Chief and Tyler too is you can never have enough cameras these days. And I just think that it's important that all our city buildings that we can feel that are need that are camera. I know Pasquale has used, and maybe I think even the chief is for the dump site for illegal dumping by talking to Tony, that we have used that and have caught some of the suspects by the legal dumping. And I think now if it's an impound with cars, bikes, valuable stuff, that we know how people are, if it's theirs or they're in dire need of other financial means. So I definitely think it's important that there's never enough cameras, I guess, is in my eyes if we have the money for it.
Kind of warranty is there with the equipment and service of the equipment?
10 years, yeah, they replace it for 10 years. Everything.
All that?
Depending on what it is, we had an issue with the cameras on this building, and we went back to Veracata multiple times. I did. And they couldn't figure it out, and we were going to have to get somebody out here, and that was going to cost. But then Miranda luckily had an issue with another part of her technology, and it came to light that we had a bad router, that it was our router in the building that was the problem the whole time. And so we replaced that router and everything up. But yeah, for the most part, they will stand behind this. We've got a new Grove is a new, would be a different installer. The one we had before was not from the area. And I've got a new Veracata rep too, and he recommended this Grove Security. And they are
St. Paul?
St. Paul, yep, right in the area. And so they'll come down and troubleshoot. And it's a very good warranty. That's why it's expensive to have it, but everything is included with that.
Subscription that expires and we lose access to the cameras after 10 years, right? We still get to use them, or is there?
Well, we'd have to re-up. So it's all on an app. So yeah, if we decide to discontinue the cameras and not pay for I think you could call it
It's cloud-based service, so it's not, you don't have a DVR, so it would be similar to like even some people's private security systems that don't have a physical recording unit. I know those you can continue to use, and when they break down, then you just gotta buy all new stuff. But the other nice thing is that DVR, you don't have a DVR. It's just kind of like what we've done with our IT stuff. That stuff should all be able to be retrievable, even if you have a situation, in theory, of course.
So as we add more and more cameras, that increases our cost, our licensing?
It will, yep. It's about $400 for 10, whatever it is, a month, or no, well, no, it wouldn't be $400. It'll be, $4,000 a year for each camera, or $4,000 for 10 years, so $410 a year per camera. And we've got 10 years to build into that. Well, we've got 7 years in the other cameras, and 10 years on this one to build that into our capital equipment. Just another technology cost.
And they're industrial stuff. It's not consumer grade stuff. So, I mean, that's one of the big differences compared to what you can buy at, on Amazon or whatever. And that's what we had with the old system. It's just a consumer grade Schwann system, and it was cheap, and it was what I was able to get at the time because it was important to have some sort of system out there because we're housing people's property out there and it's not necessarily ours. And so with all the catalytic converter thefts and stuff, it's like all we need is someone collect. When we did have a car that got broken into that before we had our impound lot, and turned out it was the guy that owned the car. He still got charged with a burglary, I might add. But these things happen. We're subject to being, violated in that capacity too. And so this works two different ways. It provides evidence, provides deterrence. And we just want to have something that's all together. The other system, you still can use an app to run it. There is a DVR separate though. So, but I've had 2 cameras already fry on it that we can't access, and I'm confident it just, the line or something just keeps frying it. So, and the range that those cameras have don't have nearly what Verkada can do with 1 camera versus right now, I think we have 3 that are actively working, or no, 2 that are actively working. The third one's not.
And you as PD have been happy with the quality that you can get out of it when you've needed it, correct?
The Verkada?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have charged multiple felonies and crimes and stuff off of things we've accessed from cameras.
And I know a couple of them have been from the brush site, so.
Car thefts, we've used cameras to help with those. I mean, it's.
As long as it's within range.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be, those people are going by the building, but it's still.
And Verkada seems to be, their whole point is trying to get into commercial and government entities. They're very common in a lot of public places. Their systems are very common in a lot of public places. So, we're talking like intersections of communities, and they sell cameras that have license plate reading capability to run vehicle plates if a community wanted to do that, like Prairie Island. They have LPR cameras, so when you pull into their community, you're being run every time automatically because they're reading your plate. And they'll get hits on stolen cars all the time, and people with warrants. So, but they're a tool that we can use, especially when it comes to crimes against property or persons. And
Would these cameras that you're looking at in that area be able to read the plates?
Well, it's not the same quality, but it's got to be better than what the Schwann was. And even the one that we had at the brush site that wasn't LPR, there was still enough that we were able to gather to identify stuff. Yeah. And it doesn't guarantee because a lot of criminals take their plates off.
Yeah, and we can focus one of these right at the gate, right at that area where, we have a good chance of getting a license plate. They don't guarantee because it's not a license plate reader. But we don't think that to get to a license plate reader, that's
Quite a bit more.
yes. Yeah, we're able to get physical characteristics and all that, and people, you can put facial recognition on here, you can.
Our system here has facial recognition. You can tag people and identify who they are. And so if you had somebody that was causing a problem, you trespass them from this site, you can tag them as identified, and it'll give you an alert. So, but that's the way the technology's going today. So your phone does facial recognition.
There's a couple other communities in the area that are looking at Verkada right now. And I've talked to a couple of IT providers because we're getting close to bringing an RFP to you for managed IT. And one of them was a platinum Verkada technologist, or I can't remember what but But our managed IT provider, when and if we move into that, will be able to troubleshoot those systems as well. So yeah, everything I'm hearing is, great system. Even the cost, I was talking to an administrator today and I said the cost and they said, oh, that's not bad. I'm like, oh, really? Good. Because it seems like a lot of money to me, but they are great. They're a great product. And
how long have we, I assume the ones we currently have were also 10-year licensed ones? How far into that are we?
we're 3 years into that.
Okay.
Yep, so it'll be spread out a little bit, which helps. And ARPA dollars.
ARPA dollars and not the safety, because I think we need to, at some point, sit down and figure out where we want to allocate that, where, why, or what any recommendations we get or ask about that money. So that was a good catch by Sarah that I think is worth catching.
With that understanding, I'll make a motion to approve the impound lock camera proposal.
From the ARPA dollars, correct? I just want to make sure we get that.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Let's jump to 8E, covered bridge park ash tree removal. Brian.
Yes, and this has been a hard one to publicize because there's some really stringent rules on how to publicize these grants. But I think I'm okay in a council meeting on an agenda item. So we received a relief like a tree grant from the state of Minnesota through the Department of Natural Resources Division of Forestry for removal of ash trees in the park, and also part of the proposal is replanting. We propose to remove 65 and replant 72 or 75, something like that. We received a grant amount of $58,830. And then due to the complexity of the required bid document, there was prevailing wages in there and some other things. I asked WHKS to write the bid package for us, just to make sure we have all the legal stuff in there. And also they received the bids. They also sent it out to, I think we have 5 bids on there. We received bids ranging from $87,120 all the way down to $19,000. So a huge spread. Mike and I had a conversation wondering if we were going to be able to do 65 trees for that dollar amount. Oh, incidentally, we do have an in-kind match of $14,583. Now that is equipment use and other expenses is our in-kind match. Being that we are asking you to approve a $19,000 bid, and that bid has been vetted. Scott Hunnicky called them and said, hey, are you sure? Did you read the document? Do you understand what you're bidding on? And yep, we know we're good. This is our bid. With the spread, I said, how am I going to explain that to my council with that big of a spread? And they said, well, we did the vetting. This is what it is. And they're comfortable with it. Everybody bid the same documents. I got a call from another one of these bidders today that didn't get it, and she thanked me and thanked us for having such clear, concise, easy to bid documents. So she said they were really well put together. She said a lot of these are so hard because they're not as clear on what they're asking for. So we paid WHKS a little bit of money, but I think it paid off. Especially we're getting a $19,000 bid. Now I have to call the grant administrator to talk through the grant, because obviously we're not going to need the $58,000. So it'll probably be reduced to the $19,000, as will our in-kind match should be reduced proportionally. And I'll work on that.
Does this just include the removal or also the planting?
Removal, hauling away, grinding stumps, and then we've got, and purchasing of, I think, 72 bare root trees. I can't remember, Mike, what the dimensions are. There's smaller trees. And then we were going to look for some volunteer help that'll help with the in-kind match as well to plant these trees. The school was gonna help out a little bit. We've got some individuals around town already asking to help. So the replanting is part of it as well, but some of the planting, that's probably our in-kind match part or some of that. But yeah, we're just grateful for the grant to be able to do that. It's a lot of trees.
Is this just the trees in the park?
Yes, this one's just the trees in the park. I'll have another grant to tell you about. Again, publicizing rules. I'm still working on that. We're working on a bid document for that one. That's a smaller grant for boulevard trees. That one's around $17,000 something for boulevard trees. This one was geared towards the park, and that one's towards boulevard trees. You've probably seen, I think Mike and his staff have already marked some boulevard trees as well that need to come out. So we'll gear up for that. This will be completed this summer for the park, theoretically the boulevard trees as well. But yeah, it includes grinding out the stumps, so we're not going to have a whole bunch of stumps all over the place.
The 58,000, that was just for the removal though. So we can't incorporate the balance of that into the replacement, correct?
Well, no, I think the money was there for the purchasing of trees as well, which is going to be not much because we have to, the specifications are bare root trees of a certain size, small ones. So that's only some hundreds of dollars. So that's part of it as well. And pretty inconsequential as it goes, but.
And that's 65 trees in the park?
Yep.
Is that all our ash trees in the park then taken care of then on that, Mike?
Probably not.
But a good chunk of them probably?
The ones we took out last year.
Kim, can you turn it on?
I think we removed 62 last
Okay.
year.
I was trying to get the mic going back in. So that's another great question, because yes, we should go out and look around some more and see if there's more, because I can go back to the grant administrator with that and say, hey, this was $19,000. We identified 15 more that should be taken out.
That's what I was wondering, can they add that to the?
Great question. I'll definitely ask that.
Keep as much of the grant that we can?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, if there's more down there, I think we should go find them and get that in here, or ask the question to get it in there. Because I'm hearing they would rather use the dollars rather than go through the process of trying to reallocate it somewhere.
And I assume that grant is just for parks and not boulevard trees, correct?
That one is listed as park.
Now, does East Park have any ash trees in there that we could throw in there, Ken?
So originally we had boulevard trees or ash trees as part of the park on the east side of the highway too, but then MnDOT took care of them. There was a pretty good chunk of them there.
Perfect.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the human tree services bid for $19,000. But I'd also like to put in there that we see how many more ash trees we have and see if they can take care of those too.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 500. Resolution 2024-06. Nelson Charles Diane approve a variance. Brian?
Yeah, I'll start out with this one. I'll need Matt's help maybe on it, but the background of this one is this is one of those that was encroaching on parkland. We weren't quite sure how much. Charlie asked Mike and his guys to come out there and take a look and try and determine how much of his shed he's going to have to take down. And they came up with, it appeared that just the rain gutter was hanging over the property line. So the park board directed Charlie to remove the rain gutter, or that portion of the rain gutter that was hanging over the property line. And he did so. And then as a city, we said, well, you're too close to the property line with the shed. So you should get a variance for that to be within the setback, basically right up to the property line. So that's what he applied for, was a variance to be, not over the property line into the park, but just too close to the property line. Given the location of it, and they've got a bunch of findings of fact in here, but given the location of it out in the woods, there's not going to be a structure built adjacent to it anytime in the park. I'm assuming we're not going to go build a building over there on that hill. it just kind of makes sense that we would not make him move the shed 5 feet away from the property line. There was some questioning about another shed that is over the property line in the park that we did the park board did oh gosh, Matt, what do we call that thing? Okay, we did an encroachment agreement with them because they didn't build it. They bought the house that way. And so we decided to do an encroachment agreement with them, which allows it to stay until it's substantially damaged by a storm, or if they move, they have to take it down. Charlie's is a little bit different because it's not over the property line. It's not in the park. It's just too close. And so that's where a variance we think is warranted there. And that's what you've got before you now. And if you've got questions, or maybe Matt can chime in here.
So the only question was, it was represented to the commission that it's still 2 feet off the line. Not that that's very important, but the variance says it's allowing an encroachment 3 feet into the 5-foot setback. So
he's 2 feet off from the property line.
well, that's what we were told. So is
No, I
that
think
incorrect?
he's right. Yeah, I think he's right there, isn't he, Mike? Yeah, the corner of his.
He's right there with the back of, and
That's
it's
an
not,
overhang on the back, right?
it's not the actual shed, it's a lean-to off the shed that he built. But that's right on the line.
Yep, so it's not 2 feet. Maybe we need to reconsider based on that to get the facts right, or what's the right process on that? Because
It's written wrong on here then, on the
Yeah,
resolution.
it's wrong. Yeah.
something we should table?
I mean, council could still take action because you're the ultimate decider. It's just a recommendation from the planning commission. I guess we'd have to, if it went back to the planning commission said, well, considering that it goes right up to the line instead of 2 feet away, which I don't know if that would make much difference, but
he's not over the line, he's on the line.
Yeah, he's on the line.
He's at the line, not over it. Yeah, he
Yeah.
removed the portion that was over. And again, this is, as far
It's
as
a
not setting a
lean-to.
precedence, this is adjacent to the woods in the park.
I wish I had a picture of it.
If there's another, can you pull it up? I wonder. Yeah.
I've seen the picture, but I can't.
So basically, the property line with a building right up to
It's
it.
written wrong, so we would have to amend the resolution.
Yeah, can they amend the resolution as a council? Even though it's a park board recommendation?
planning commission recommendation.
Or, yeah, planning commission, excuse me. Too many boards.
How was the notice of the public hearing written?
Well,
It says in here, their variance applied to allow the location of the existing shed in question to encroach 3 feet into the required 5-foot rear yard setback. It's not perfect.
Maybe the lines now.
Oh, right, so.
The white
it's
line is on the
this-
line.
It's coming
That's
right
GIS
there, right
on
on
the county.
Yeah. This little portion, which
Which
is
is that
fine with
lean-to.
me. I mean, I don't see any problem with it. It's just that I wanted to do
That was
it
what they
correctly,
sent
so it's
here.
not in question later on.
That's it.
I mean,
Or council could approve it, but the one question is, and I don't know if it matters that much, but was the notice sent to all the neighbors accurate?
yes, it said, public hearing will allow input on a request to grant the variance at 109 Sugarloaf Lane to allow a shed to be within the 5-foot setback of the rear lot line.
Wasn't specific.
No, it just says within. That's what the public notice said.
I don't see any harm with, the bottom line is this, like Brian said, this is an attempt to clean up all the issues along all those properties. I guess on this property, the owner was storing all sorts of things across the line, moved all of that back.
Lots of stuff, yes.
Just trying to mop this up and make sure that the line is between park and residential is defined. So I don't see any harm with council approving it. But did you just say that you thought the building was still 2 feet off after removing the overhang, or are we confident the building's right up to the line? Mike?
I'm confident it's right up to the line because it's just a gutter. It's a gutter that hangs over 6 inches.
You're saying the overhang is at the line.
Just a gutter.
Yeah, there's not really an overhang.
Not really an overhang. It's a lean-to off the back so that right off his roof line, he puts a gutter, and that's only whatever the width of the gutter is. I've got pictures I can send.
I know he's worked hard to cleaning that up, and it was a lot bigger issue than what it is now, so I mean, as long as he's not over the line, I'm okay with it.
I don't necessarily agree with some of the statements, and I've had that issue before with unique circumstances to the property owner, landowner. I don't think there is a unique circumstance here per se, but I don't think granting the variance is going to really change anything. It keeps things constant. I just don't agree with some of the other conclusion points.
I guess I would ask one other question then, kind of on Bob's point. If that would get damaged, that lean-to or the sell that house, would it be possible for them to put in there for them to remove just the lean-to portion? Because the actual building itself would be 5 feet. He would have plenty of the setbacks for the rear yard.
I don't think the planning commission was told that there was a separate lean-to either. That was maybe an add-on. So that would make total sense.
Just like we did with the other property owner,
Well,
that we let him have
but
it
that one is over the property line.
Yeah.
Right.
So that wouldn't be an encroachment agreement.
So if the lean-to is sort of more or less more of a temporary add-on and the main structure is, I guess, for lack of a better term, more permanent, then yeah, it would make a lot of sense to allow the lean-to be there until it becomes dilapidated and then it has to be removed.
So the shed itself is still not, it's within, the shed itself is still, I think what he was talking about, the shed itself is 2 feet in, 2 feet off of the property line.
Is it the,
This picture is a little bit deceiving. When they went out and looked, it's closer than that to the, oh, yeah, the shed.
The shed itself is not 5 feet away.
The shed itself is.
Yeah.
The shed itself would make the 5 foot setback for the rear yard.
Okay.
The lean-to was added onto the.
Oh,
Once you're
that's
on
the
the shed,
lean-to.
that's the lean-to.
Right, once you add to the shed, that's, to me, building code terms, is projected roof area, whether it's a lean-to or a shed roof or whatever. When you're looking at area.
I don't know, do we just need to make sure we clean all the wording up before we vote on something?
I would rather, I don't want to vote on it until it says what we want it to say.
I would agree. I mean, there's too much variables on this right now.
And is there a way we can have them?
Property. What should,
Over here closer, right out here.
what if you just send it back to planning commission because there were some inaccurate facts? And then staff will just have to, we got a 60-day rule, so the application was filed end of December. So we have to make a decision by end of this month, but we have an automatic extra 60 days if staff sends out a letter. So we could reconsider it in March at the planning meeting and then come back to council after that.
I think we should.
Okay.
Just to clean it up a little bit. Perfect. Yes. Perfect, so we will table that, push it back to planning and zoning for their next meeting. Let's jump to 8G that we amended, that's the motion on the ordinance 2024-01, adopting annual fees for the city license permits and services.
I'll make a motion to approve 2024-01, or resolution 2024-01.
06.
Oh,
Hopefully I had that right on there.
No, you're talking, you're looking at Charles one, we're
We're
looking
looking
at,
at the fee schedule.
we're
Got
looking
it.
at the
Ordinance,
ordinance. Yeah,
yes.
you're looking at the wrong one.
Boy, I'm batting 1,000 today. Man, oh man.
I mean, I thought we already approved the fee schedule, so this is an amended fee schedule?
Yeah, this is adopting it by ordinance amended with, well, the fees are not amended, it's added.
The ordinance.
The building, yeah. And doing it as by ordinance.
You got that motion, Kim?
I'll second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Reports?
Yes, we're moving forward with the sanitary district. March 7th meeting, we will have a purchase agreement for you to look at and then ask you to set a public meeting. Each community will set a public meeting for their first meeting in April. So more to come in the sanitary district, March 7th. Also, the sanitary district, we spent a good share of the day meeting with legislators today, and it went really well. Very well received by all the legislators, both Republicans and Democrats. I think it's a great idea. It's a model that they want to see replicated around the state. We've got Senator Drazkowski is carrying the bill in the Senate, and then Representative Jacob in the House. There's some commitments there, so that'll be good. Senator Liz Bolden signed on to the bill as the number 2 on there, and others signed on today too. It was a very, very good day. And we stopped by and spoke with our legislators as well while we're up there. We always pop in and be seen. That's what they say. Just be seen up there. So it's a good day. We'll be back up there next Wednesday for 5 or 6 more meetings. And then I think we've got a Zoom meeting tomorrow and one the next Friday. And then the week after we'll be up for 5 more. So it's going well. That's it. I think.
Thank you. Chief left, Matt?
No.
Kim? Mike? I just have one quick thing. Brian and I sat in our second strategic planning for the school board. It's been very well run, very much community involved with other business owners and teachers and higher rankings and students. They've been very involved. So I've been impressed, and I kind of like how the school's handling it in the standpoint of making it community involved with their strategic planning. So I just wanted to say we did 2 meetings. We got 1 more to go here in April.
April 17th, I believe.
Perfect. That's all I got. Sarah?
Good.
Bob? Nope. Joan? Kevin? Meeting adjourned.
How can you have the air conditioning on?
I know.
FYI.